Next on the agenda is item 5B, approve the 2016-2017 Building Fund Measure EE Financial and Performance Audit Reports. Is there a motion? Motion by Mrs. Olson, second by Mr. De La Cerda. And at this time, I will invite Schoenfeld to present the audit report.
Thank you very much. Good evening. My name is Colin Schoenfeld. I am the chairperson of the Saugus Union School District Citizens Oversight Committee. On a side note, I'm also a parent of two legals and a member of the Emblem County Site Council.
Do you know the school song?
I have heard it once or twice and have been privy to an illegal source. Or twice. Two of the purposes of the Citizens Oversight Committee are to ensure that an annual independent financial audit and an annual independent performance audit are performed. In front of you this evening is a copy of the 2016-2017 annual audit performed by Riddick, Trine, Day & Company. On page 3 of the audit is the balance sheet, which indicates a fund balance of $8,584,787 as of June 30th, 2017. For the financial audit, the statement of revenues, expenditures, and changes to the fund balance are noted on page 4. The committee is looking forward to receiving a staff report detailing the expenditures so that we can have a better understanding of the individual line items listed. The auditor's report on page 19 indicates, quote, none reported, unquote, for financial statement findings, and, quote, no audit findings reported in the prior year's schedule of financial statement findings, unquote, on page 20. Next, you'll find the Building Fund Measure EE Performance Audit. The auditor's conclusion is found on page 4 and states, quote, the results of our test indicate that in all significant respects, the Saugus Union School District has properly accounted for the expenditures held in the Building Fund Measure EE, and that such expenditures were made for authorized bond projects, unquote. The annual financial and performance audits are ready for your approval, and thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you for your service.
Yes. Any questions for Mr. Schoenfeld?
How'd you like the process?
It's been very interesting. I've been on it for 2 years now, and it's been a great experience. It's been quite an education to see how things work. I have a wife who is also a teacher in the Saugus Union School District. I have 2 boys here, so we're quite invested, and it's great to see how some of the money is being spent, how the district is being upgraded, and making sure that those expenditures are appropriate for what's going on.
Thank you.
Thank you so much, Colin.
And at this point, I will ask Mr. Petzold up to the microphone. And Mr. Petzold, you have 3 minutes. Would you like time for Mr. De La Cerda?
I can do that.
Oh.
Yes, I certainly wish that Mr. Heinlein had been here tonight, but my concern is with the information that I've seen within the Oversight Committee. I really believe that there's some questions to be had in this report. I certainly wish that you would table or not consider this item tonight. I ask that because of inconsistencies within the report. I point you to page 2 of the Building Fund Measure E, the auditor's report, and I underline no money for administrator salaries. Yet in their report, they show nearly $250,000 worth of salaries being paid between 2016 and 2017. I have no idea what those salaries were for. That is a serious concern to me. I have brought to the attention of the Bond Oversight Committee the fact that the bond measure itself, the question said that there would be no funds for administrator salaries. Now, the Saugus School District in their did go forward and get an attorney's opinion letter, which basically said, yeah, you're right. It does say that in the ballot question that went to the voters. But what the voters don't understand is that it's not the ballot question that governs, It's the ballot proposition that governs. And while you go through that, this was, who was it, Atkinson, and what's the law firm's name? Atkinson, Andelson, whatever. From what I understand, that was a merger of two law firms, one of which wrote the original ballot question and the ballot proposition to the Saugus Union School District. So they had a inherent conflict of interest in defending their decision. So I consider this to be a very serious issue, and I certainly wish that you would not give this report your consent this evening. I think that there are significant questions that have yet to be raised. And this isn't meant to impugn anybody on the Saugus Union School District. It's not meant to impugn the project manager. The project manager that I believe was hired and was going to be paid with double E money, I believe that took place in the fall, September, October, when I was here. So I don't know, how did they ring up $250,000 worth of salaries before you hired the project manager for double E? So I don't have all the answers to these questions. There are internal inconsistencies within the auditor's report. I tried to bring these to the attention of the oversight committee to the best that I could, although that I didn't have the full time to read that. And with that, I'll let you do what you're going to do, but certainly I see problems with it. I'm going to continue to pursue these problems, not because I have any animosity towards this Saugus Union School District or any of you, but because there is a complete industry built on lying to the voters. And that's what I want to stop. This, hey, we'll throw in there no administrator salaries, even though you know that you can pay administrator salaries according to an opinion, not an adjudicated court case, but an opinion from an attorney general in 2004. The issue of paying administrator salaries has never been adjudicated.
Thank you, Mr.
Does that
Petzold.
mean my time's up?
Yes.
Can
Okay,
we
thank you.
ask some questions though?
Right.
It's agendized.
Yeah.
Oh, I do. No, I just have Mr. Petzold, because I have a question. You had a couple of concerns. If he can email those, because I would like to hear what the concerns are. Can you send those either to Mr. Heinlein or Dr. Lucid? You mentioned a few. And also in exchange, we are going to ask where the $250,000 specifically to those.
So some of the issues that I have with that is that, I believe these are questions for I'm not on the oversight committee. These are questions that I honestly believe that the oversight committee should have. So like I'm overseeing I feel at this point like I'm overseeing the oversight committee and trying to bring to their attention things that I feel that they should be looking for. And that's not, that I've had a fair hearing. The 2 times I went to the oversight committee, I've had a fair hearing there, although I didn't have the time to review the attorney's opinion letter. When I went to the last oversight committee meeting, it says, oh, here's our attorney's opinion letter on why it's okay for us to spend money on administrator salaries. And I had no time, it was dated the same date as the meeting. And I had no time to review it. I have other people across the state that I'm concerned with, that I do this work with, and they reviewed the letter, and they're the ones that brought to my attention the fact that the same law firm that you used to issue the opinion, it's not like the oversight committee had asked for an attorney's opinion. The superintendent or somebody at the board, Mr. Highland, asked for them to issue this, and it was written to defend the administrator's salaries, even though there are internal inconsistencies in the bond proposition. So I want to answer your question directly. I feel, just off the top of my head, I feel more comfortable going to the bond oversight committee, answering my questions, and having the bond oversight committee address the questions to you.
Mr. Schoenfeld, I believe that you had made an information request of Mr. Heinlein regarding some of these figures.
We did indeed, and we directed staff to request the legal response that Mr. Petzold was referring to. So it was directly the Citizens Oversight Committee which did request the legal response. I think Mr. Petzold may have forgotten that.
And I believe, Mr. Petzold, you have also met with Mr.
That
Heinlein.
certainly was not addressed to me. All I can do is go by what's on the letter. The letter is addressed to Mr. Nick Heinlein, Assistant Superintendent of Business Services. I'm sorry?
That's not what you said, but what you said was that the Citizens Oversight Committee did not request that report, and we did request that report.
Well, I didn't know, this isn't anything against the Oversight Committee.
Understand,
This is,
what we're talking
this
about.
is that I'm looking at this, and I don't know, you didn't pay for it. I don't know, did anybody pay for it?
Well, Mr. Schoenfeld stated the Oversight Committee
But it's not
works
addressed,
through
it is
staff.
it is not addressed to the Oversight Committee.
Correct, but they make their request through the staff, and the staff makes the request, and obviously the letter was.
And I think that draws into question their independence. They're an independent Oversight Committee.
The rules, the bylaws of the Citizens Oversight do require staff to act on their behalf when asked a question.
Okay, well, I'm not trying to parse words or, make you think that I know everything there is to know about the interactions. I have a limited amount of time. I have a life away from Prop 39 bond. Although, I wish I would have never heard them at this point,
But am I correct in saying, Mr. Schoenfeld, that the request for information is still pending?
The request for information, the information has been provided by counsel from staff. So we have.
The opinion, but the data regarding the numbers that Mr. Petzold referenced.
I'm sorry.
The detail of the numbers that are included in the audit report as that are listed as.
Per the report that we were given from legal staff, we were allowed to include administrative salaries within the Measure EE funds. And as a result of that legal opinion, we did believe that what was being done was reviewed by us and was in fact completely appropriate.
And then
Which is
also,
what the scope of our meeting and the scope of our oversight committee is to approve the expenditures and make sure that they are accurate and appropriate.
and Mrs. Jones is putting together a report so that expenditures has more detail to it. So she's putting that together, that will be available at the next citizen meeting.
That will include those salaries, correct?
Yes.
Dr. Lucid, is there any risk in delaying the approval of the report? Is there anything that's waiting or relying upon this happening tonight?
This is the report that is done for 16, 17. I'm not sure, it's required by law for the board to approve it.
Right, ultimately, but does it need to happen?
And we're already into almost the end of 17, 18.
And my understanding of the reports don't require board approval, like you said. They're audits, so it's an option.
The audit is done. This is what our auditors have told us, and this is what's required by law, and they follow through on CSAM manual in terms of what they're required to do. This was what the law requires them to do. This is what we've presented, and then over and above that, the Citizens Oversight Committee did ask if it was possible to provide additional detail based on the expenditures that are there. And so Dana Jones is putting those things together for us.
Certainly, I think you should withhold your consent until you are able to see the detail. Where did $258,000 go before you hired the project manager that was hired with Prop Measure EE money? I think that's a legitimate question for the board to ask before they give their consent.
My concern would be that we are going to be going to Sacramento, to San Francisco for a bond reading. And I would not want anything to upset that.
Will we have it by March 27th?
Oh,
The detail, I doubt that, I think she's still working on it. That detail will be for the next oversight committee, which is in May. I can see if she's got it. Do you want that as an agenda item? That may take some time.
Again, I just
It's
want to,
only a week until that meeting.
right.
They were with them who we are going out to mention the
Well, I have no idea, what is the importance to Moody's as to this report? I mean, the county controller is gonna set, they're gonna look at the assessed values for the district, and whatever the interest rates are, when you come up with, your B draw against measure EE, they're gonna calculate it, and I don't think that this is a minor question that certainly doesn't impact a bond rating that Moody's gives to you. It's a legitimate question that should be raised before, to go up there and say, hey, we got a clear rating when there are major questions regarding the use of these funds. I think it's disingenuous. That's my opinion.
Thank you. Is there any further discussion?
I just wonder if the language is correct on approving this audit versus accepting. I don't know, difference in regards, we're not really, we didn't conduct the audit. The audit is conducted by a third party, independent, and the information's been presented.
Right.
We can't change this information, and there's nothing about approving the information is what it is. So,
You are approving the audit report.
for
Right.
the report, okay.
But you can go back to them and say, will you please clarify why you have salaries here when on page 2 it says that there are no administrative salaries?
And we can take this information and then further follow up based on the audit.
Yeah.
Even though we accept this audit as being done, we can take this and take it the next step further, which would be our job to ask questions, and we appreciate Mr. Petzold bringing some questions to the floor and us taking those the next step, and then we will be doing that. But accepting this, approving it, doesn't mean we agree with it. It is what it is. And now we have to take this information and ask more questions, and then we can get feedback from them. And we certainly have to ask the auditors for more information.
I think the questions have been asked and staff is working on it.
And that's great.
Right.
So I just want to make sure
When we
to
get that information, I
the
think
public
we
that
can-
approving this audit does not necessarily mean that we're saying that if there is any discrepancies and issues here that we want to know more information about, we're not going to question those and go back and see if there's any more information we need about it. So it's just,
Right.
right,
Yeah, I
this
think
isn't a
our-
budget, we're approving anything.
Our
in
approving
particular.
this does not preclude our
Providing
doing a
for-
further review
right.
Exactly.
of this particular issue.
Right.
Exactly, that's important just to make sure.
Yeah, because the report itself is just a
So
outlining
So,
the
yes,
facts
I-
of expenditures.
I don't have a problem approving this here because it's not stating that we necessarily are not going to take this information,
Right.
take the due diligence of information, ask questions.
Mhm.
Is that correct, Dr. Bell? He's just checking.
Yeah, the Prop 39 requirements. So it outlines that the audit needs to be delivered no later than March 31st. Right.
We met that, the COE has met that, or COC has met that requirement.
Right, because they've conducted the audit and provided the report.
Correct.
So we're just accepting, by approving it, we're just accepting their report as being factual. Right, exactly, and additional information can continue to be,
This is what we want.
right.
Any further discussion? Then we will proceed to a vote. All those in favor?
I,
Opposed? Motion carries with a 5-0 vote.
Dr. Schoenfeld, you're going to receive a report at your next meeting as well
That's my understanding.
for those items, great.
And then when we receive the update, we can share that with Mr. Petzold, so that he can answer. Yeah, yeah.
Yes. So if you could have, once that report has been presented to the COC committee, if it could also be provided to Mr. Petzold, and I know that Mr. Heinlein has his contact information. Unless Mr. Petzold is at the meeting and get it firsthand.
I'm sure we can do both.
Yeah.
Thank you very much.
Yes, thank you.
Appreciate your time
Appreciate
tonight.
it.
On to item 5C, consider